Yes, I think for the vast majority of e-com stores, brand owners and everything, like the collection pages are always going to be your biggest like opportunity for commercial traffic. Blogs are normally quite good for volume of traffic, but it's like your chance are you're probably going to be, the people arriving to there are probably not going to be ready to buy. They're probably more informational searchers and not in that right mindset. Whereas collection pages can target the relevant kind of like keywords that people are looking for your actual product that you sell.
Welcome to the third season of the Simple and Smart SEO Show, the podcast dedicated to empathy-driven, brand-building SEO. I'm your host, Crystal Waddell. I leverage my obsession with user experience to help business owners just like you optimize your website with confidence. Thank you so much for being here. Let's jump into another great episode. All right, Freddie, let's do this. Welcome back to the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. I am here with Freddie Chatt, who is an e-commerce expert and just a really kind, helpful guy that I met through a mutual friend, Andy Holland, who's been on the podcast before. But Freddie is here to talk all things e-commerce SEO. So Freddie Chatt, welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So we were chatting just a little bit before we got started about like your history with SEO and like how you got into the industry. So I was just wondering if you could do like a quick recap of like your SEO experience and then tell us a little bit about what you do now that's SEO related.
Absolutely. Yes. So I fell into SEO as I feel like most people do back in 2012. So I've been doing it for 12 years now. And so I dropped out of university, lucky to get a job as a kind of marketing assistant at a local e-com store here in the UK. They sold kind of luxury homeware, home decor, furniture, lighting, and all sorts of things like that. And they knew they should be doing SEO, but they weren't exactly sure what to do. So they got me in, who also didn't know what to do, but fortunately also had a consultant on hand to give me some direction, show me the ropes and things like that. And over the course of the next, I was there for 6-7 years in total. We grew it from almost nothing to about £10 million in annual revenue just from SEO. And we did it all pretty much internally. We built out the internal SEO team. We had awesome other teams that we worked with internally from PR, copy, and development team and stuff like that. So we were super lucky to have such a kind of like strong internal team that kind of really backed SEO. That's what it really takes to make successful any business, to have a true kind of belief in it. And yes, I was really lucky there to do a whole cross section of SEO tasks and tactics, from international SEO, domain migrations, content-led projects. We ran a campaign that became an annual thing, which basically was a blogger awards for interior design bloggers and interior designers. One of them once called the Oscars of the interior design blogging world. So that was a particular highlight, which was epic to do.
I think it's so neat that you were on the inside of a large company, a large e-commerce company when you got your start with SEO, because it's like, yeah, you may not have known a lot when you started, but you pretty much learned everything that you needed to know by the time you were finished. There's a piece of me that's a little bit envious because I started out just as the solopreneur that I still am. You've gotten to see what it's like to work inside a big company, and you know that it's a little bit different than regular SEO, right? I guess that's my point. Is e-commerce different? And how is it different than like regular SEO?
Yes. So like the general principles are exactly the same. Like generally it's content and links, but almost like the principles on how you have different types of pages. You've got product pages, category pages, whereas like kind of service level business have landing pages and different types of pages. And it's how they like fit together. E-com platforms naturally build out your kind of like the structure of the site. You've got filters on those category pages and things that can mess about with it and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, so there's definitely kind of unique tactics and ways to implement the general approaches that you do, but the overall overriding premise is still the same.
Okay. So take us through like you leaving that company and creating your own thing.
Yes. Was December 2019, so just before the pandemic. So not realizing that at the time, but also being quite lucky to be specializing in e-commerce SEO. I went freelance, like did some consulting for a variety of kind of other e-com brands, a couple of SaaS businesses, but mainly e-commerce brands. And yeah, I've basically been freelancing and consulting ever since. So for the past like almost 5 years now. In that time, I also set up my own e-com store here in the UK, selling kind of cricket bats, cricket equipment. Having played cricket for most of my life, there's a big opportunity online, whereas a lot of the specific kind of cricket brands weren't tapping into SEO in itself, but also a few of the other channel, online digital channels. Whereas there was a handful of retailers that were doing getting most of the traffic, but they weren't that authoritative. They didn't seem to necessarily know exactly what they were doing. It's more the fact that they were there first. So I launched that with a friend, and that's been we've been growing that slowly on the side for the last few years as well.
The question that pops into my mind is how do you chase the big dog, the one that got there first? But how do you find those opportunities where they're not doing this as well? Because what if their ad spend is outrageous and you can just tell that they're generating all these leads from ads, but their SEO is non-existent. Can you compete with that?
Absolutely. Obviously, it depends massively on each market, each niche, specifically on who your competitors are. But there's always normally some room for opportunities for you to take some traffic off them or target stuff that they're not targeting. What I found, and both internally and working and consulting with some large e-com brands since, is that they're much slower to move on newer initiatives and newer opportunities. So as a small brand, you can often be a lot more agile and nimble in terms of trying new things, testing different content ideas or link building tactics or whatever it is to try and pick up things where they haven't. That's definitely an advantage of being smaller than bigger, that you end up needing to go through multiple levels of sign off just to create a blog post, for example.
So there's a lot of different types of e-commerce sites, and some people are familiar with print on demand, drop shipping. I happen to be my own manufacturer. So I make and sell giant numbers, I make in letters like that. And I don't have any numbers right here, of course, because, wait, I do. For graduations, already ready for 2028. What's the approach for SEO, between those three types of e-commerce companies? And maybe there's more, you can let me know, but specifically drop shipping, print on demand, and a self-manufacturer. Is there a different approach to SEO when it comes to the different types of e-commerce businesses?
Generally not. I'd say on the whole, they're the same. At the end of the day, you're trying to get in front of the customers that want to buy your product. So whatever they are searching for to end up finding your product, whether you're making it yourself, whether you're drop shipping, print on demand, selling other people's branded stuff, you're just trying to get your piece of the market, get in front of the customers that essentially have the problem that your product solves. The general premise of finding their pain points, finding what they're searching for, and making it as easy as possible for them to find your store remain the same across the different types of e-com stores.
One of the reasons why I ask is because I have an e-commerce store, and then I have my SEO squad where I meet with business owners once a week, every Wednesday. We talk about websites. And then I'm also helping my brother launch a new business, and it's a lawn service in Kansas, but he is into robot lawnmowers. And I'm this is a whole different area for me, because obviously we're going to have to procure the lawnmowers, and choosing the right product is really important. So now we're trying to source the product for vendors. So I'm just curious, how did you choose your vendor for your cricket bats and the equipment?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, the vast majority of cricket bats in the world that are sold each year are made in India. India have their own version of Alibaba, AliExpress type thing called India Mart. So most of the manufacturers in India are on that. Our process was we went through there, found a range of people that seemed to sell the product that we wanted. Ours is relatively simple, not lots of customization. So it's relatively straightforward to make for them, essentially, as a manufacturer of cricket bats and other equipment. We got we had 5. So we spent a few £100s on getting samples sent over. So we started with just a cricket bat. And so we got about 5 or 6 bats sent over. We went and tested them all out to see which ones felt the best for us. And we then chose the one that we liked the best from there. And interestingly enough, we then temporarily moved away from that supplier because we found another one slightly cheaper. But then we had product quality issues, and then we're now back with the original supplier, which we probably should never have left in the first place. But we've now been with them for the last 2 years, and it's kind of going really well at working with them.
Okay, so tell me about what was that like when you changed suppliers and you noticed a drop off in product quality? What was that like from a customer service perspective? And what was it that made you say, we have to go back, even though it costs a little more?
Yeah, it was extremely stressful because we're like cricket's a very seasonal sport. So it's just played in the summer in here. So basically we make most of our money between kind of like April and August. We get most of our stock in at the start of the year, and then that's pretty much what we work through. So for the year that we had the alternative supplier, like kind of things started off well. Things were selling more than we were last year, which was fantastic. But then we started getting the issues coming in of like kind of the product quality issues, the break-in issues with the bat handles, which are like very obviously a manufacturing issue. And we have a warranty of 1 year. So any issues, we replace the bat. So on the whole, most of the customers were like still happy. They contacted us. There was an issue. We set out any bat. There was a handful of people that then it happened again to, and obviously then they were less happy. We refunded. And so we didn't lose much in sense of a lot of unhappy customers, but I feel it definitely probably damaged the brand slightly in terms of people's trust and belief in us. But like we've been building that back up ever since.
That is super cool. Good for you guys to be able to bounce back from that. And I'm curious because I'm a handmade / manufacturer, I don't have to or choose to keep stock. Like I do have the same name of Collage and Wood as an Amazon store. And I've learned that FBA for me is the most effective way to sell on Amazon. Shout out to Jonas Sickler, who was on the show earlier this year. When it comes to measuring all the moving parts of e-commerce, like what kind of tech stack do you guys use to make this happen?
Yes. Currently we're on WooCommerce, but I'm in the process of moving over this winter when it's our kind of quiet season. I'm moving us over to Shopify. So the tech stack's going to slightly change. So the vast majority of my clients from an SEO side are all on Shopify. So it was like, I know it really well from an SEO perspective. I know really well from like just a usability perspective. In the past, I've always built websites on WordPress. So I knew how to build sites on WordPress, which is why that's where it started on WordPress and WooCommerce. But I think it takes a lot more in terms of the maintenance to like update plugins and security stuff and host it and all those other things, which I don't want to have to worry about. I want to simplify that whole scenario. And so I can just focus on marketing and selling more cricket bats basically. So yeah, so it's going to be a Shopify. I use Klaviyo for email marketing. We've got just over 10,000 people on our email list now. And so yeah, they're pretty much like, that's pretty much the two tools I use to run it on the most part.
Okay, these follow-up questions are so easy. I'm like, okay, so tell us how you built your email list to 10,000 subscribers.
So the biggest way that we've done so far is by doing giveaways. Giveaways seem to be able to, sometimes can work, sometimes can't, depending on what you sell. Like for us, cricket's a relatively niche sport. So if you're not going to enter to win a giveaway to win a cricket bat if you don't play cricket. So that we know that almost everyone enters the giveaway, it's going to probably like give quite a good return on investment. So we've actually done some Facebook ads to the giveaway and then track that. And it's like we can have a positive like kind of return on investment through running ads to a giveaway to then get them to convert at some point over the kind of like next couple months. So the biggest way so far has been through giveaways. We've also done some partner giveaways. So we've teamed up with a couple of other brands who don't sell kind of like competing products. So we don't sell cricket shoes, but there's some brands out there that sell cricket shoes. So we teamed up with them. They gave away like 5 pairs of shoes. We gave away 5 bats, and then it gives an extra incentive to enter. So pretty much probably I'm trying to think, probably 80-90% of that email list is probably through giveaways.
That is such a unique and clever way to use giveaways. So I'd done giveaways for a little bit, but it just seemed like it was taking a lot of my time. And I don't think I found the right like market fit for the giveaways. So it reminds me of when I was first trying to start my email list. It was like I was trying to give away like credit and just 50% off, 90% off if you join my email list. It was like, nobody wants that. So I didn't know what I was doing wrong. Then I just realized I was like, you have to give people like something they can use right now, like something that they're interested in. And that is just so smart that you guys did that with the bat. So that's definitely giving me a whole bunch of ideas. One thing I wanted to ask you about, do you blog?
Yes. Yeah. We've got, I think it's about 70 posts on there at the moment.
Okay. When you blog on WordPress, it looks so much better. When you move to Shopify, are you going to utilize Shopify's blog? And do you have any ideas for making Shopify's blog a little more attractive? Hey, football fans, score big this fall with our senior night gifts from loveyoursenior.com. These treasures are just what you need to make your memories last a lifetime. But hurry, these limited edition pieces are as fleeting as those Friday night lights. Visit loveyoursenior.com now and grab yours before the final whistle blows. That's loveyoursenior.com.
I don't. No, I think there are some apps out there that do make it a little bit more engaging or give you the ability to add a few more interesting things in there for it. I've never kind of like really used them too much, but it's something that I'm going to explore in kind of like the next few months as I start to kind of move the site over and move all the content over. We'll have to loop back on that one. And if I find anything, I can share it.
The big one that I know about is called Pagefly. And I do have a few free pages from Pagefly. But one bad thing is when you update your theme, sometimes all of your stuff can break in Pagefly. And then they also give you something in your theme that says, do not delete. Yeah, don't delete that. I will also say I've made a little bit of a shift after reading your LinkedIn post. It was a combination of you and one of our squad members, Sarah. We use Surfer inside the squad to optimize things. And you were talking about optimizing collection pages. And we were looking at like the Surfer insights and, okay, these are the pages that need to be made. And it was like, wow, this could really align with a collection page. And so we started really applying that to collection pages. So just on that note, do you have any other like foundational SEO strategies for e-commerce businesses that are just starting out or want to level up their website?
Yes, I think for the vast majority of e-com stores, brand owners and everything, like the collection pages are always going to be your biggest like opportunity for commercial traffic. Blogs are normally quite good for volume of traffic, but it's like your chances are you're probably going to be, the people arriving to there are probably not going to be ready to buy. They're probably more informational searchers and not in that right mindset. Whereas collection pages can target the relevant kind of like keywords that people are looking for your actual product that you sell. And I had a really good example of worked with a brand a couple of years ago that they sell jewelry, all sorts of jewelry, but their main premise was that they were kind of like waterproof, and their site was put out as pretty standard. They had necklaces, earrings, bracelets, everything like that. But they'd done no SEO essentially. So they had the collections for all their products. But so what they had done is they mentioned on the site and the product pages that it was waterproof and everything. What they didn't do is on those particular collection pages actually tell Google that's what this page was about. So to Google, they were looking at that page and just thinking it was necklaces. But by like adding waterproof into your page title, into the category, the collection name, and into having a short description, just doing those few things, the fact that Google already generally knew they were about waterproof jewelry, but not those specifically optimized pages. And like, it was a relatively small brand from the SEO perspective, but within about a month of making those changes across the few collections pages that they had, traffic increased to about 2,000 visits a month just from those small changes. So I think that's like when you're getting started, just working out what your customers are searching for and making sure you've got a page that solves that specific query. And you can have a look in Google, who else is ranking for that and see whether you think there's an opportunity for you. If there's only really high authority competitors that are ranking, you might need to try and go a bit longer tail, like we did in that instance. We went for waterproof necklaces rather than necklaces because trying to rank the necklaces is near on impossible unless you're like Tiffany.
Wow, that is such a great example. I think I remember either you talking about that in your course or on LinkedIn. So yeah, that sounded familiar. What about like trends in SEO and e-commerce SEO specifically? How do you think it's changing now, like 2024 to 2025? Because little context, when I first got into SEO, I was coming in from this blogger world. It was an early adopter of Jarvis before they changed their name to Jasper. And then I jumped into Surfer SEO. And so I'm getting all this amazing affiliate marketing, blogging advice. But as I applied it to my store, I realized, doing this to the collection pages and the product pages is going to have a lot more of an impact than just the blogs, that top of funnel traffic. What is going on right now in e-commerce SEO? Like, where should people focus?
Yes. So there's two emerging things. So I think that in general, focusing on your collection pages and stuff like that still remain super important and probably still the most important thing. There's two areas that are pretty fresh and new in terms of what they may impact e-commerce SEO. So the first is Google's free shopping listings. So they used to all be free. Then they all become paid kind of Google shopping. And now there's a hybrid. There's still the paid, but there's also a lot of free opportunities out there that are increasing. So we're seeing more organic product grids on commercial terms that appear not necessarily at the top of the SERP, but about a few couple results down. There's not in much of the way of kind of documentation or insights into what you can do to optimize specifically to appear there at the moment, but it's something that I'm keeping a close eye on in terms of trying to do experiments and see what we can see that does impact that. Fundamentally, Google, it takes from Google shopping feed. So most people have set up the Google shopping campaigns anyway, but by just having that feed into Google Merchant Center, even if you're not running Google shopping campaigns, that should also pick up some, a little bit of the low hanging fruit traffic potentially in there. And then over time, then we should find out more about what we can do to improve visibility around that. So that's one of the key things specifically around e-com. And the other is the kind of ever evolving AI input within Google search and outside of Google search. So whether users are asking ChatGPT for what's the best cricket bat to buy, or are they still going to Google and things like that. So and again, this is all still very new in terms of what you can do to optimize to appear in ChatGPT and Google AI, but it's something that is increasingly more visible in terms of people are getting more and more traffic from AI tools. Google's rolling out their AI in SERPs for more and more countries. So again, I don't really have much insight into what you can do, but it's more something to keep an eye on and definitely try and keep on top of any latest kind of updates and stuff around those elements.
Yeah, thank you for that. And one other thing I wanted to ask is randomly thrown in here, it popped into my head. Could we talk about conversion rates for a second? And I don't want to put you on the spot. Okay. So let's talk in generalities here of things you've seen and just in your experience working with a variety of e-commerce brands, because you've been doing this for 5 years. I don't want the industry standard answer here. I want a real answer of what you've seen in terms of e-commerce conversion rates, particularly of Shopify stores.
In terms of what they are or what?
Yes.
I've seen anything from 0.5%, and that was a pretty standard for this store, to some stores that seem to be able to achieve 7-8% consistently. One of the things that I would say, and which we had in the past when I was in-house, is we, for 1 year, did a big push on blog content and growing the blog, and we used it to grow the email list and things like that. So by doing lots of blog posts and rolling lots of those out that are more informational, that does appear to have then a negative impact on your conversion rate, even though it's not that person would ever convert in the first place. You're just you're almost building visibility. So one of the things that I try and do is look at almost the conversion rate of someone who sees a product page or something like that. They probably have a slightly more buying mindset. So it's a more accurate representation. But yeah, in general, I've seen conversion rates all over the place, but ours personally hovers around 1%. But yeah, and it's about 1.8 for people that view the product page.
Okay. So I love that takeaway right there. I think it's going to be so important for myself, any other e-commerce store owner who's listening and has a Shopify store, to look at the conversion rate for specific pages versus your overall site. Because if you do have a lot of content, like you said, you're going to have a lot of just random people. For me, I built a site all around senior night. And I want to be a resource for people who are celebrating sports senior nights, either in high school or college. So I definitely want to bring them in as they're like, what is senior night? You know what I mean? And what do you wear to senior night? All those types of things. But I'm hoping that the same person who is wondering what they're supposed to wear to their kids' senior night or what they're supposed to do and be responsible for on senior night is also the same person who is going to be shopping for a senior night gift. And so for me, it's a natural progression, but I do get a lot of people who come in for that what is query versus gift for football player, which is more of a product page or collection page. I'm definitely taking that away and definitely going to make it a point to share with the squad to really take a look at those product pages specifically. And is there a way that you do that in your analytics, or is it just a manual thing?
So yes, in old Universal Analytics, I had a segment that I could just apply. In GA4, I think I had built some Looker dashboards that use that data and filter it through that. But you can just add a filter within GA4 for basically has viewed that includes /products, which basically means they've seen a product page on that journey. And then that will just show people that are in that bracket of people. So you can track that number over time rather than kind of like the overall one.
Now, I'm not sure if you'll know this, but is that the same idea as creating an audience in GA4?
I think it's separate.
Okay.
It's just filtering the view that you're looking at.
Okay. I'm going to make that part of my follow-up Friday work for this particular episode, because that is something that I can combine with the GA4 project that I'm working on. So that is outstanding. Thank you so much for that, because sometimes it's just, there's so much data available. How do you find the data that's actually important and going to help you grow your business? Because there's just so much to look at.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you talked a little bit about long tail keywords. Here's my problem with e-commerce. It's okay. You got your products, and then you got your categories, and then you've got your blog posts that hopefully will relate to your categories and your products. And they all relate to each other in some way. So it's like, how do you avoid like duplicate content and cannibalizing pages that are similar, but hopefully have different search intent or intended functions?
Yeah. So I use a tool called Keyword Insights to help with this. So they started off as like a keyword clustering tool. So you chucked in a load of keywords and they told you which ones in the search results return the same result. So basically for like kind of 50 keywords, you might only need to create 5 pages because they all rank for the same thing. So my kind of like super quick way of setting almost like a keyword targeting plan is to pull together a batch of keywords. So normally what I do is I put in a seed keyword. So for me, I put in Cricket Bat into a keyword research tool, set it, so what they call it, like matches terms. So basically it pulls out all the long tail, all the keywords in their database that have the word Cricket Bat. So for us, there's like kind of sort of things called like long handle Cricket Bats, junior Cricket Bats. So there's lots of different terms in there. And then you can export that, put it into Keyword Insights. And what they do is they classify each one by intent. So they'll tell you whether it's like kind of a collection page, product page that ranks, or if it's like more of a blog post that ranks. And then what that does is that immediately gives you an output of almost like a total list of pages you can target, you can create content for, whether that should be on a collection page, product page, or as a blog post. And then you basically run through that list and be like, sometimes there's things that you don't sell or it just doesn't make sense. So you can just remove them. But then that gives you a really good insight into all the different pages you could create. And for some brands that I've done similar work for, it's made them realize that there's actually new products that they could launch into these new categories where they don't currently service. So that's probably the best way. I know it uses a couple of tools which are paid, but you can often get free trials or sign up for a month and get a load of data out. But that'll then give you that insight into all those different kind of like content opportunities, whether it's from a collection perspective or kind of like more blog posts.
Okay, let's talk about your favorite tools to run an e-commerce site. You just mentioned the keywords one, which I already forgot, but it's something we have recorded. I use Surfer. I have Shopify. I use Tiny PNG. There's like a long list of different websites and tools and stuff that we can go through and go to. So I was just curious kind of what's in your list of go-to tools.
Yeah. So from the SEO side, I use Ahrefs is the main tool that I use for kind of like user research and link building analysis and things like that. Keyword Insights takes that data and makes it like a lot more usable for me and the client. So they're like the two tools I use mostly from kind of like on the SEO side. And then I think I mentioned earlier, I'm moving to Shopify. So I'm excited to play around with all the different apps and stuff that I can find in there. And then, as I mentioned, Klaviyo or my email.
Okay. So what about product page optimization? What makes a product page SEO friendly, and how can you make it drive both traffic and conversions?
Yes. So in some cases, your product pages won't drive that much traffic, and it's more collection pages you focus on. But oftentimes, if you get really specific like product types within your products, I work on a lighting brand at the moment, so they sell wall lights, but then they've got really specific within that collection. They've got wall light and stuff like that, but they've only got one product. So it makes sense to optimize the product page rather than a collection page that only has one product. So in terms of kind of like optimizing product pages, it's generally the essentials that you like would probably perceive to have on there, like a decent description, like a longer form description is always more helpful. Like kind of great product imagery is from a conversion perspective is fantastic, but also great for SEO. Making sure the keyword that you're targeting is in the page title. If you can get the keyword that you're trying to target in the product name, it's like some people, it aligns quite well there that the keywords they target are the product names. Some people like to call their products more unique things, so it's slightly harder. So they're the main things to get on that product page. And then making sure like you'll have links from the collection pages that they're in, but also trying to get internal links through from blog posts that you write and various things like that into these pages will only help them even more to rank.
At my current company, I've generated 7 figures in revenue in just 6 months doing all the sales by myself. Just me and Rumi, my secret weapon. Rumi isn't just another meeting app. It's like Zoom or Google Meet, but with AI tools that supercharge my results. Rumi records every meeting, gives me real-time insights during sales calls, and if I've met with a prospect in the past, Rumi's meeting memory answers any questions I have before the call. I don't waste time digging through notes. Rumi preps me instantly. Go to tryrumi.ai. That's tryrumi.ai for a 14-day free trial.
Is there a rule of a minimum or maximum number of products that should be in a collection?
So there isn't, and I don't think Google's ever said anything from their side. I've worked with like kind of collection pages, category pages that have got 2,000 products in. We created lots of sub collections and that, but yeah, and they rank really well. So there's no detrimental effect that way. In terms of kind of the lower end, like I generally normally think 3 is probably the absolute lowest, but you probably want 5 or more. Again, it probably depends slightly on what you're selling, whether it makes sense that you should have more or get away with less.
And then what about link building? Because you said content and links, that's just like the gift of SEO. Like what ideas can you give us to build links for our e-commerce stores?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ideas that I use for a lot of brands that I work with. One of them is like product-led link building through gift guides. So like almost every major publication out there like kind of creates gift guides every year for different occasions, for different topics and everything like that. And getting into these, some of them, whilst they focus a lot on affiliates themselves, but there's still a lot of opportunity for brands to get involved. So the process that I run through guides to do this is look back at who wrote gift guides in the last year, and then basically reach out to people who wrote them and be like, saw you wrote one gift guide last year. Are you going to update it for this year? Would love to like kind of potentially get involved. Like if you can offer to send them like a product sample or a free kind of like product so they can kind of check it out, then you can end up getting some really good high quality links from that way. In the past, I've done this and gotten like Refinery 29, Vogue in Australia, and like a whole batch of really high places that I would never have like possibly thought was possible. But yeah, so that's one of my favorite tactics for people, that if you sell something that's quite giftable, getting in those sorts of gift guides at the various times of the year. I think I did a blog post or LinkedIn post on this recently, and I checked back in Ahrefs in their Content Explorer, and there was over 19,000 gift guides written in their kind of like specific database, like across the last 12 months. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. Some are really specific in niches, like there'll be like kind of Star Wars toys and things like that. So it's like not everyone can then reach out to that person, but there's lots of really relevant ones that you can find that feature similar products to what you sell.
I guess just a couple more questions, because I thought voice search was going to die, and it seems like voice and large language models are merging in a way and how they do that. So do you have any ideas for optimizing for voice search?
Yeah, like I agree that like it seemed to die, and I feel like it's now linked back into the AI side. Like you say, I'd say carry on doing the general things that you do to try and rank in Google and another search engine. I think like I worked out earlier this summer when I was playing around with if I could get my brand to appear in ChatGPT and stuff like that. And at the time, basically, if you search for what the best, so we sell affordable cricket bats. So it's like, what's the best budget cricket bat? If you could see it, all it did was go to Bing, look at the top few results, and then basically it gets its results from that. It almost implies that people should potentially pay more attention to Bing in terms of your rankings there and what you could do to optimize into ChatGPT that way. But like I say, like they seem to change things all the time and things are moving so fast. It's hard to keep up in terms of how exactly it will work.
Wow. Now that's a nugget right there, because most of the time it's all about Google, what it would look like to try to optimize specifically for Bing. But that is super insightful. So what about, you said you guys have seasonality. So how do you handle seasonality as a business? Because I have multiple seasons. So I'm like, I don't really do big Christmas, but I do big football and big soccer and then big baseball and big basketball or whatever. But if you just have 1 or 2 months, like how do you manage that as a business owner from your website to your budget?
Yeah, so it is pretty tricky. Like with our products inventory, where we basically place an order at the end of the season, ready for next season. So in terms of cash flow, it works okay that we get all our cash in through the sales over the summer. And then at the end of the summer, we put that money into the stock for the next season. So then basically we don't spend too much on ads anyway, but all our ads get turned off over the winter when no one's playing. We're currently running a warehouse sale to try and like clear through some excess stock. We'll do like Black Friday sales. So we'll do almost like do slightly more promotions outside of season. And like some things, even though it's out of season, like there is still some giftable elements around like the holidays and Christmas and stuff like that. So there's a few things like that we do at the end of the season. And then from January, it's like slowly starts ramping up through the year. We just slowly start ramping up activity. We spend a lot of the winter time almost like trying to improve the site ready for next year, or like just cleaning things up that we haven't got around to because it's been so busy over the peak period.
Man, I could talk to you all day because everything you say just leads me to more questions and thoughts. And it's interesting talking to someone who deals in e-commerce, because even though I manufacture my own product, I'm like, I should do exactly what you're doing. At the end of April, that's when we should invest it into next year's stock based on the previous year's numbers. And we could go ahead and get a lot of that cut and paid for at that time. And then that just, I don't know, from a management perspective, it just really streamlines it versus just trying to catch up and stay caught up throughout the year. I'm like, oh my gosh, how could I have talked about that before? Okay, last question, because I have 1,000 more. I'm looking away because I have more on my list. But if I let you leave without talking about UX and SEO alignment, I would do a disservice to myself and our audience. So how do you think that user experience impacts SEO, and what kind of best practices do you recommend to align those two things?
Yeah, absolutely. So like, I think it's super important. People don't realize how much bad UX can negatively affect or like hold you back. I think like within e-com SEO, particularly trying to optimize for SEO, people go too far in certain directions. So like the general premise of more words on the page means better rankings and things like that. On particularly collection pages, people would then put like 1,000-word block of text at the bottom of underneath the product grid and hope that helps. And the thing is, in the past, it's worked to some degree of the time, but from a user experience, if they ever find that, they're probably just like thinking, what is this? This is just so weird.
That's really CBS.
Waypay used to do it, but they do it a bit clever now as well. And yeah, so it's like, it worked. But there's things you can do you can still have that 1,000 word of text. And I found a site recently that do it quite nicely in the sense that underneath the product grid, they've got like a layout of image one side, text the other side, and then it like rotates. And so it just allows them to add some more content to that page that is helpful content. Like it answers questions around what people might be searching for around the products they sell. So it's a way to get it that looks a bit nicer, that doesn't make users confused and bounce around and wonder where they're going. So that's like just one specific example. It doesn't matter if you've got the traffic and they get lost and get confused.
You have to follow Freddie on LinkedIn because he drops these just little tips like almost every day, but you could just go back and make a class like / course for yourself out of his LinkedIn post, because he's like, oh, do this and like your life's going to improve 100 times. It really is true. He doesn't say that, but that's what it sounds like. Freddie, tell people how they can find you and like how they can work with you, and make sure that you tell us about your course, because I'll drop a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, beautiful. So yes, I mainly hang out on LinkedIn. Just search Freddie Chatt. I think I'm the only Freddie Chatt on there or something. So it should be quite easy to find, hopefully. Other than that, you can sign up to my email list, freddiechatt.com. And there's a free e-commerce SEO checklist if you sign up from the homepage as well. So that'd be useful. And then, yes, I've got a really affordable, it's only $150 e-com course, which basically guides you through the process to from zero to £10,000 or $10,000 a month from SEO for your store, everything that I did for my store to get it to that point. And yeah, so that's at the e-commerce SEO bootcamp. So just Google that and it should be near the top.
And of course, I'll make it simple for him. I'll put the links in the show notes. So hopefully that will all go well. But Freddie, oh my gosh, we've got to do this again at some point, maybe in 2025. It's been a pleasure to just learn from you for so many months and then now get to meet you virtually. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
That's right. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to finally get here.
Awesome. All right, guys, I will catch you next time. And thanks for joining us.